I came under Order 43 with the intention that I needed to make some declarations this morning. When I started, my colleagues from my party, PDP, feel that I needed to consult with them more. So, because of the love they've shown to me, I want to step down my declaration and consult wider.
Congratulations, my man. We'll think about it. We'll think about it.
We'll stand by you till the end.
We'll stand by you till the end. We'll stand by you till the end. We'll stand by you. Oh, yes. We shall stand by you till the end. It won't matter. It won't matter.
Nobody will ever fuck you. You see now?
Distinguished colleagues, distinguished colleagues, distinguished colleagues, distinguished colleagues, in line with our rules, which says there cannot be any further debate on this, his point of order is noted, but also Senator Sonu Ugoji, I'll keep the whole day free for any time you want to come back on order 43 today before the close of the session. Senator Bacha.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Bacha Emmanuel. I represent Taraba South. Mr. President, I'm standing on the strength of Order 43. Order. This time on a different matter. Order. That by the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate Senator may make a personal explanation, although there be no matter, no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. Mr. President, the matter in question, may I crave the indulgence, May I crave the indulgence of the chair to proceed to explain the matter in question.
Yeah, what's the matter?
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the matter in question pertains to the gruesome murder of a parliamentarian, a younger colleague of ours, a very visible member of the Taraba State House of Assembly, who was gruesomely murdered a few days ago. Late Barrister Hosea Ibi. Mr. President, as much as this is a highlight of the challenges of insecurity in the country, but I want to inform this Senate that this incident happened in the very quiet city of Takum in my senatorial district in southern Taraba State on the 30th of December 2017. The member in question went to his constituency as usual to participate in celebrating the Yellowtide. Unfortunately, he was kidnapped by unknown men on the 30th of December, as said. The very worrisome aspect of this heinous act is that the family of the deceased were made to pay the ransom and yet his life was not spared. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this is a moment of mourning for the entire state of Taraba State, the entire Southern Senatorial District, and my humble self who sit with you in these chambers. The member in question was very close to me, an age-long political associate. I would personally miss him dearly. He was a very vibrant member of the State Assembly. As I've said, I want to urge the Senate to join me to pray for the family and observe a minute silence to honor this distinguished member of the State Assembly in my state, who, for no fault of his, got killed because of a society that is overtaken by evil. A society where security has become a very serious problem. Mr. President, my singular prayer is for us to join the family, to pray for the wife, for God Almighty to comfort her, and then allow for a minute silence for this distinguished parliamentarian. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senator Bosha. You command 43. You just allow us to debate on the matter. It's a very unfortunate situation. We accept the deepest condolences from the entire Senate for this, as I said, really inexcusable and unfortunate death. I think we talked about this yesterday. It all goes back to the responsibility we need to do to address the security situation in our country. And the only thing apart from the prayers is for us to see that this kind of thing does not continue to happen. And in this time, we'll seek the audience of our members for us to rise up and observe 1 minute silence in honor of the death of this parliamentarian from Taraba State. Distinguished colleagues. Leader of the Senate. Yes, point of order, Senator Lau, point of order.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my names are Isa Shoaibulau, representing Taraba North. I am coming under order 42 and 52 after a brief discussion.
Go ahead.
Order 42. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Order 52. Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any order proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. This motion is on the need for the Senate to intervene in the conflict between the herdsmen and the farmers, the Rambidi local government area of Taraba State. Note, you see
Distinguished colleagues, let me just take your consent. Senator La did meet me yesterday and briefed me of these incidents in Taraba, which had resulted in an unfortunate incident of a lot of loss of lives there. And I wanted to comment on that 42 and 52, and I seek the leave of our colleagues that we will accept this motion. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Go ahead, proceed.
This motion is on the need for the Senate to intervene in the conflict between herdsmen and farmers ravaging the local government area of Taraba State. Note with serious concern the conflict between farmers and cattle herdsmen, especially in the local government area of Taraba State, which has ravaged the villages, communities, depriving persons of right of life, destruction of houses, foodstuffs, among others. Observe that the conflict started from Numan in Adamawa State, being a border community between Taraba and Adamawa State. The border communities have suffered a lot of hardship. Worried that this conflict between farmers and nomadic cattle herdsmen is posing a grave danger to national security, harmonious communal life, and national unity. Senate knows that over 70 people were killed in this conflict. Further persuade the Senate at this point in time to come in because it is very necessary and critical. Accordingly, resolved that to call on the Senate to send a high-power delegation in conjunction with the state government to resolve this conflict for harmonious existence. Senate to direct NEMA as a matter of urgency to intervene by providing relief materials to the affected communities, and urge the federal government to deploy more security personnel, police, army, civil defense, etc., to the affected areas. And also urge the federal government to mount a comprehensive surveillance of the border of Adamawa and Taraba State to proactively detect and deter further attacks. I so move.
Yes, Senator Ben Murray Bruce.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand to support this motion, which is similar to what we discussed yesterday, and which seems to be a recurrent decimal in Nigeria. It seems to be that Nigeria is becoming a lawless country, a country with no rules and regulations, a country where laws are not adhered to, a country where there is no consequence for bad behavior. We either have a government or we don't. We either have security agencies or we don't. We either believe the sanctity of life and property or we don't. These are the fundamental issues at stake today. Because every day since we've been here, somebody has gotten killed, raped, maimed, throat slit, killed at gunpoint. And every day we have resolutions after resolutions, and nothing is being done. It is time the federal government of Nigeria acts, because they were voted into office. They have an executive function to protect the lives and properties of Nigerians. This is one of several examples that we've been accosted with since we've been in the hollow chambers. I am disgusted by what I am hearing. It is disgusting to find pregnant women, their stomachs slit, unborn babies removed. And if these herdsmen are allowed to rampage the way they are, then frankly speaking, they are a terrorist organization. And a terrorist organization must be dealt with decisively by the military. It is no longer a situation where we call on policemen who do not have the arms or the training to face folks with AK-47, a well-trained militia. We are told by foreigners, maybe Nigerians, but in a sense, people who now occupy land that belong to Nigeria, and we have conversations with them. If we can fight Boko Haram, certainly we can fight the herdsmen. And what I am saying right now is very, very serious, and I urge the federal government of Nigeria to take this seriously. And if the security agencies cannot do their job, then the leadership must be fired. There must be consequence for bad behavior. You are either in control of security of Nigeria or you are not. The ministers involved should resign. The generals involved must be fired or resign. Otherwise, they should be impeached. It is not acceptable for Nigerians to be killed like cattle. It is not acceptable for us to be invaded by foreign mercenaries, and all we do is have conversations. Enough is enough. I am urging the federal government of Nigeria. It's not about coming to the... It is as if the Senate is now the executive arm of government. That is what it seems. And I feel sorry for my colleagues. Senator Marafat closed our session, told us what is happening. Senator Marafat, pay attention. He told us what is happening in Zamfara State. But Senator Marafat did not say it in open house. What he said frightened everybody here about what is happening in Zamfara. Zamfara State is being occupied by foreign mercenaries. That is a fact of life. When we had a session yesterday, he never said it, but he should have said it. It is being occupied by a foreign country in Zamfara State. If that is the case, what are we doing about it? If the people responsible for protection of lives and property in Nigeria cannot do their job, what happens in civilized countries? They are fired. They are kicked out of office. Shehu Sani on TV today explained it eloquently, and he was dead on point. Now, what are we doing? If the federal government of Nigeria wants to run the Red Chamber as the Red Chamber to become the executive of Nigeria, then let us appoint as Senate President, the President of Nigeria. Let us do the job of the executive, because it doesn't make any sense. Every day we deal with all these issues. People are being killed every day. Babies are being born every day with no future. They are born into this world, and as soon as they're old enough, they pick up an AK-47, they pick up a machete, they start killing fellow human beings. Then what do we do? All we do is talk. What is happening? There has to be consequence. The Minister of Defense should come here and tell us what he's doing. Minister of Internal Affairs should be someone here and let us know what they're doing. If the cabinet is incompetent, then fire them. Senator Marafat said things to me. Look, when he finished speaking yesterday, 5 senators came to me scared to death, frightened about what he said. But he didn't say it in open house. He said it in private. And what he said should have said it on the floor. Because what is happening in Taba, what is happening in Enugu, what is happening in Kaduna, what is happening all across the country is disgusting. People are being killed. People are being killed. I don't think you understand it. Maybe the cameras should go to these areas and see dead bodies. Maybe NBC should change the laws. Let us see dead bodies. Women being slaughtered as if we were in Liberia, as if we were in Sierra Leone. What is this? We are becoming a barbaric nation. We have no respect for life and property. And people are dying every day. And what the hell are we doing? The executive should speak today and explain to Nigeria what is going on in this country. We cannot continue like this. If Saraki is the only one interested, let him become president of Nigeria. Then that solves the problem. We cannot continue like this. Enough is enough. We either face these problems or everybody shut up and resign from public office. People are dying every day. Enough is enough. Thank you, Mr. President.
Point of order, Senator Marafat, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues. I come under privilege order 25. Privileges. Yes, I want to thank my very distinguished colleague, Senator Ben Bruce. But I want to say that what I said in executive session, I said on the floor of this Senate. And yes, that is yesterday. I think maybe he was in a committee meeting or something, but I came back and made my contribution. And Mr. President, permit me to also say that while we were discussing that yesterday, early in the morning today, I received a call from my own hometown that some people were kidnapped in the night of yesterday. Just to buttress the point that Zamfara state is now under the control of the militia, especially where I come from. And the most saddening thing, Mr. President, is the governor of the state knows these people. The deputy governor knows these people. Yes, sir.
Your mic.
Yes, sir. I want to say it again and again that the governor of the state knows the perpetrators of this crime. The deputy governor knows these people. The commissioner of police knows these people. They move around freely, and with their arms. I said it yesterday. I was at home during the fuel crisis, and I witnessed it. I saw it. In my own town, they move around, and today, they are the ones that judge between people. If there is any dispute between anybody, more than 60% of where I represent, they are the people that judge between the people. The people doesn't no longer go to the local authority. That is the emirs, the chiefs, the village heads, and so on. They don't go to police. They don't go to anybody. If there is a problem, they go to the bush. They tell these people, I have a problem with so-so person, and they will send to the town to ask for so-so person and so-so person be released to them. Sir, this is a national emergency. We are in trouble, and I am saying this before every Nigerian. This is the situation in the Zamfara today. At least where I represent. This much I know. In all the local governments. This is the truth of the matter. This man is still, these people that they kidnapped yesterday in the night are still in their hands, and they are threatening to kill them unless they are paid their ransom. And like I said, if anybody is arrested today, there are people that are known. You complain to them, they negotiate with these people, and these people are released within the next full number of hours. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. I remain Senator Boacha from Taraba South. Mr. President, there is an apparition that is haunting the state of Nigeria. A ghost is haunting the state of Nigeria. A few days ago, when this incident in Lao happened, I tried to cite my colleague who just presented this motion that I'm going to speak in support of. That apparently he had gone to the state for an assignment. Today, he has brought forth this motion. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the number of people killed in Lao is over 75. The other day, a mass burial was conducted for about 73 people in Makurdi, capital of Benue State. This particular one, each family were scrambling to bury their own dead. I simply don't understand how to describe the situation. What has become of Nigeria is frightening, to say the least. Mr. President, I have made mention of a new strategy adopted by the insurgents who have been facing the firepower of the military in the Northeast several times on the floor of this Senate, and little attention had been given to it. That because in the ranks of the insurgents, there are allies, there are educated people, there are Nigerians also who are involved in this matter. They have exploited a new pattern that will gain the support of the larger segment of the society. How do they do this? Is to go by a new name which they call herdsmen. And people are clandestinely or overtly supporting the insurgency without their knowing. Why? Because they whip up primordial sentiment. When they make mention of Fulani herdsmen, a Fulani ally feels offended. And that is a strategy adopted by the insurgents because they know they will gain support of the allies. The allies are unconsciously supporting this insurgent without knowing. These people are going in the new strategy and are killing people. And we are spending money that we are funding military activities in the Northeast. And yet the insurgents are going on a different platform. What sort of herdsmen? Are we not known to the herdsmen? We grow up as young men, we know the herdsmen. Nothing like that is known with the herdsmen. But because they say these are herdsmen and the insurgent carry sophisticated rifles and are killing people, you still have people, even in this chamber, who will stand up to support this because as far as it's concerned, it's a sentiment, it's about my people. It's about my people. What kind of country are we? When we are seeing, and people, this fact is hidden to people whose eyes are blinded by the devil. Look at open secret. These are people who want to kill. When this thing started, the insurgency in the Northeast, I remember late Zana sat from that location. Zana will warn us repeatedly, if you think this matter is for Borno State alone, it will consume Nigeria. Today, what is happening? The insurgency is consuming Nigeria steadily and emphasis with a refined intelligence. They are getting across Nigeria. Before you know it, everybody will be involved in the war in support of insurgency. We are doing it unconsciously. We don't know. We say these people are not herdsmen. You are refusing to believe. What are you talking about? And you stand up and be talking about a cattle route, cattle colony, things like that. You don't know that we're in 21st century Nigeria? What is the population of Nigeria today compared to Nigeria's population in the 60s? Nigeria today is over 160 million. You are still talking about, you are saying you are valuing the lives of cows to the lives of human beings. Where in the world has this ever happened? Why can't we deviate a strategy where we can accommodate these things and put it to a rest? Why must we insist that this thing must be moving around and every day when they kill people, they will say herdsmen and farmers, so that the herdsmen will now have support because there are members of the allied group who think these are our people. That is a strategy, and it is a lie. So when will our eyes open to this thing? When will our eyes open? People are killing in hundreds. As we speak now, the insurgents have inflicted injury and killed people, hundreds of Nigerians, in thousands. These are the ones that are reported. We're not talking about those that are killing maybe 10 people, 15 people. You wake up in the community in the night, somebody will come and knock on your door, you wake up and then they start shooting you. If it is a village that has a population of 50, that village is buried. It is happening now in this country. And we have a government in place. What is the primary duty of a government? Is it not the protection of lives and properties? Is it not failure of governance? What are we doing about it? We are appropriating funds and we are knowing that this thing is happening and is destroying all of us. Let us behave and speak like statesmen. Let us be bipartisan on this matter. Otherwise, like Zana would say before, tomorrow you will wake up and you say, I am party A, party C, and then you will have nowhere to go. I am telling you, the matter is beyond party. The matter is beyond religion. So what about those that are killed in Zamfara? Are they Christians? Even the insurgents, when they started, they say, they are going to kill only Christians. But at the end of the day, those people the Muslims that died there, today is history. And we are keeping quiet. They come and deceive you with a sentiment. Hey, these people, they are not your people. Hey, he's one of us, he's one of us. And we are blindly following. Mr. President, this thing must stop. Nigerians must wake up. Otherwise, every community will have no choice. Because there is no confidence even in the security forces. Why? Because we don't even obey our laws. We make laws, we sit here and make laws. The Constitution, in section 153C, Mr. President, provides the establishment of a federal character commission. We make law to establish this commission here in this area, and here we are not obeying it. We do appointment without recourse to the Federal Character Commission. And we yet call ourselves a government. We are seated here, carried away by primordial sentiment. When will you be a statesman to speak in a way that you save Nigeria? We must wake up from our slumber. Otherwise, directly and indirectly, you are contributing to destroying Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. This issue have taxed us over the last 48 hours. And I think it's something that should worry all of us. From the story we've heard today, it appears that we don't even have all the facts. We don't even know the total dimension of what's going on in terms of killing this country. Some of our colleagues are saying that here in FCT, people are being killed. The minority leader just told me that over the last 3 months, about 100 people have been killed in that fight. So, and I think that what we need to do, what Nigeria want to see now is action. I just want to appeal, therefore, since we have agreed yesterday to hold a summit, we need to hold it as a matter of urgency. Nigerians want to see what we are doing about this. I was in America last week. I was talking with some group of investors, and they said they can't come to Nigeria because of the killings. I would like to tell you something very interesting. I've kept this to myself, but I need to say it now. Our former colleague from Plateau, who died sometime, he confessed to me that in Plateau, people are killed, people are cooked, and people are eaten. He told me. So that means that we are beginning to eat ourselves. So we need to rise to this occasion, Mr. President. We need to suspend plenary as soon as possible and hold this summit under your leadership, so that Nigerians and the international community know that we are serious about this matter and we have to address this matter.
Senator Misau and then Senator Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, Senator Comrade Isa Hama Misau, Bauchi Central, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have to sympathize with Nigerians. And the reason why I'm saying that because these killings, if we don't stand to make the executives act, it will not stop. Just yesterday we were here, we were talking about the killings. We gave the IG ultimatum of 14 days. But instead of something to reduce, or instead of the killings to at least reduce, it has still continued. Mr. President, let me give an example. If you look at all the areas where these killings are taking place, they are called soft targets. Why are they called soft targets? Because you will never see the presence of any security man around that place. Today, Mr. President, I brought so many suggestions concerning the way we are going to reform the police. But the government took it personal. I said it because I was in the security cycle. And I've worked with so many VIPs. I know what is happening in the country. Just this Monday, Mr. President, I was going to National Defense Academy in Kaduna in the morning. When we were I left my house 6 a.m. We were going throughout from Abuja to Kaduna. We only saw 3 police vehicles. One inside filling station, one by the road, then another APC. Around 6 o'clock. We passed that place. I reached NDA before around 9 o'clock. I finished what I was doing in NDA around 10 o'clock, and I was coming back. Immediately when I was coming back, I saw more than 20 vehicles of the policemen. That means between the hour of 4 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they will leave their duty post and disappear. And that is the time these criminals normally use to unleash this kind of terror on this innocent citizens. And we have said it here. Mr. President, why can't we know the number of people per each local, number of security men per each local government? We are talking here. We don't even know how many people are guarding our communities. And why should one marketer, because somebody is dealing with Abuja. One single person, 30 policemen. And by United Nations standard, one policeman is supposed to be for 400 people. And even in Nigeria, at these statistics, it is one policeman to 800 people. Even at then, we have taken more than 150 policemen guarding banks, guarding VIPs, embassies. I don't have problem with that. But if we are going to give those services, then these people should pay for these services so that we'll be able to recruit more people to have more equipment. But there is no way oil companies would be paying millions and it will be going to people's pockets, and we are not improving with the equipment, we are not improving the accommodation, we are not even getting more policemen. Mr. President, a lot of things is wrong. We don't hold anybody accountable. Today, there was a time the IG came here during this hearing about this Abuja, Kaduna. I told him, why can't you man maybe each 5 kilometers put a SPO, that is a senior police officer, to man that place, so that if anything happens on between that 5 kilometers, that person will be held accountable for that. Nobody, people will kill and the DPO will be there, people will kill the commissioner of police there, people will be killed and the IG is still distant because they have people in the villa to protect them. When I met this thing, some people went to the president and told him that I'm going after his family. And because of that one, they packaged to Attorney General to take me to court. I was told. The Attorney General said, IG ran to him to help him that this thing, I'm challenging the family of the president. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it for Nigerians. I'm not doing it for myself. IG cannot do anything to me. I'm not a contractor. I'm not looking for contract. I'm not looking for money from anybody. But I am doing it for this nation. Today, the DG NIA that was just appointed, is he qualified to be there? He's not qualified. This is a person that failed 2 exams. We know. He failed 2 exams. And it's just because he's close to the cabal, he's close to the people taking decisions, giving what to do, and he was appointed. And these are the kind of things that we sometimes avoid, or sometimes we say, and we should not say anything. As long as we leave some certain things, we will continue to have this kind of problem. So many incompetent people are holding so many positions. Even today, I don't feel the presence of ministers. So many ministers, 50% of the ministers are not performing. Since the time the president assumed office, he has not taken any decision to change this country. Today, we are seeing it, and everybody is avoiding it. Nobody wants to say anything. Until we begin to talk, all these things that we are doing here, it cannot solve this problem. If we like, let us call any kind of conference. We as legislators, we cannot implement anything. The executive, they have the power to implement all these decisions, and if they don't want to implement it, or if they don't care with what we are saying, right from the beginning of this, they term the National Assembly as their enemy. What are we doing? It's because we are trying to put direction to the government for them to succeed. But so many people will go, even when we are on holiday, so many people were going behind to say that they should try now and remove the Senate president. I know during this holiday, they were saying that and it was a minister that was spearheading that thing. What is the reason? They said they are suspecting that Senate president will lead APC. That they should create more problem for him so that they will remove him. So what kind of a thing are we? Why are we so this thing? Everything about religion, everything about tribe, everything about this thing, sensitive position. We cannot even get people, competent people to handle it. So what do you want us to do? Mr. President, I think it is right time. It is right time for us. Let us know what to do. If it is about talking here, if it is about conference, it will not solve this problem until we look at how the security system is. Who are holding certain positions? Are they competent, and were they appointed on merit? Because so many people are not appointed on merit. It's just because this man is my brother, this man is my relative, this one comes from my village. So many appointments in this government. It's not on merit. And there are some people now that they have taken over the government as if they are even above the president. They take decisions anyhow. Look at now, now we are saying we are fighting corruption. Simple thing, Baba Chir, Senate indicted him. Vice President Committee indicted him. Today they are pursuing other people. Why can't they take verbatim to court? And all of us are here, keep quiet. And people that have not done anything are always in court. And this is the man that's squandered money meant for, not is for IDPs. And he's still visiting the villa every day. Look at this minor issue. This Attorney General is becoming a nuisance. Look at the Attorney General going to court to stop Senate from investigating minor. And we are still here. The IG came here with a lawyer, IG, that is not going to answer any question from the Senate. And after that one, he went to institute another in court restraining the Senate from investigating him. And today we are here, and we are talking about security. If the IG cannot come and face the Senate and tell them what he's doing, he's going about with a lawyer, then what are we saying? Is the chief, is the main person that is supposed to protect internally, supposed to protect lives and property. All these ones that we are doing, army, they are just supporting the police. Just yesterday when I was passing in the morning to Korimpa, I saw army, navy escorting Abuja Environmental Protection, FCT, to enforce people that are selling on the road. Army and navy escorting FCT, Abuja Environmental Protection. So which kind of country are we? So, Mr. President, these are small issues. If we are just to give medicine, so many things we have, there is failure of leadership. Whether we like it or not, there is a fundamental, so many things are wrong. Until we sit down, let us forget about religion, let us forget about tribe, let us forget about where we come from. I went to Federal Government College Azare, a unity school. I look at everybody from this Nigeria as my brother. Today, how many of our leaders look at all of us as brothers? How many of us? Until we begin to realize this kind of thing, we can't just be giving medicine without trying to investigate what is the cause of that ailment. We have to go deep. But by the time we say, okay, somebody will come, I'm sick, you say, okay, take Panadol, without checking what is the reason, what caused that headache. A lot of things is wrong, and we have started descending. If we don't do anything now, because now, from what I'm seeing now, we have started election work, because I saw some governors going to the villa to make endorsement. Very soon now, even me, I will gather some people to make endorsement. That means election has started. Listen. So, Mr. President, this is the right time. We have started descending. This is the right time for us to do the right thing. I think the leadership of this National Assembly should go and have one-on-one talk with the President. People is as if it's not in charge. It's as if some people are the ones in charge of this country. Even the DGNIA that we are talking about, they said some people in the cabal, they are the ones that appointed that person to be there without cross-checking other things. So, Mr. President, you and the Speaker, if you want to put some other leaders in the part of leadership in this, you must think further. We have 2 or 3 months to correct this thing. If we don't correct it, that is the end. If you look at what is happening now in the social media and papers, you can see this is a government that came with credibility, that came with so many things. I saw the other time, last week, Tunde Bakari condemning the government. So many people are condemning the government. And this is the government. This is the government that came with all this kind of things. So that, Mr. President, try as much as possible. Let us try and do the right thing. If there are certain people that are misleading the president, let the president sack them. Let the president sack them. Because as long as they are there, they will not allow the president to perform effectively. So this is the simple issue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Abdullah. Oh, sorry, let me yield for a ranking senator.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, very distinguished
very, very heavy heart, I want to make my own contribution on the subject matter that is everybody's concern today in the country. And that is the issue of security of life and property. In making my intervention, Mr. President, I want to make it absolutely clear that I subscribe, I accept the principle that should guide the essence of every government, which is the protection, preservation, protection of life and property. I endorse the emotions, the sentiments, the worries that as representatives of our people have been expressed from this hollow chamber. For anybody to say there is no security problem in Nigeria, that person will be deceiving himself. But, Mr. President, I use the big but. We say, and it is true, that we are supposed to be statesmen. We are supposed to be statesmen that have been carefully elected to come to this upper chamber of the Nigerian National Assembly. I appreciate, Mr. President, that as legislators, we operate, we make our contributions, our interventions with the full cover of what we call parliamentary immunity or privileges. Mr. President, it's one thing talking about a president, a problem. It's quite another what language you use in expressing the problem. What we do here, people who elected us, yes, they see us, they listen to us. But the position of a statesman is not that of adding fire or adding insult to injury. It is not. I had the patience to listen. I urge my colleagues to listen to me. Please, I say this with due respect to everybody here. We must not. And if everybody says he will, and I differ, I will say I differ. It's my right to do so as a parliamentarian here. I don't believe that we should take the advantage of our position here. Having made a nice, good, acceptable point as the worry of the country, to start saying things that are not within the calling of a gentleman. I don't accept this. I don't accept that we stand here and condemn the administration in its entirety. It's wrong. It's wrong. And my dear colleagues, God forbid, if any calamity befall us, we here are the first victims. They are the first line of victims. I will not accept anybody coming here virtually calling the president by his name, calling operators of government by name, and condemning them. It is not right. Make your point within the law for this. Make your point. Condemn. That security is not what you say so. Nobody says you shouldn't say so. But you don't say so in a way of inciting the public. It's wrong. It's wrong. And Mr. President, The issue of security is everybody's concern. It's everybody's concern. Most of the people who are talking of no police here, no police there, the police is failing. How many people say I don't have police with them? How many of you? How many? Don't complain you don't have. Don't complain you don't have. So please, let us be accommodating, please. Let us be accommodating. I said in the beginning, if mine should be the last or the only voice, I stand for my word. I want to answer my father's name here. And we must be cautious. We must be cautious in our interventions. Make your point, but do not go under and try to condemn anything that is government. We are a third arm, I mean the first arm really, the first estate of the realm. We are in the executive. I mean, we are an arm of the three government. We are a member of the three arms of the government in Nigeria, in the National Assembly. All right? If this government fails, let nobody here deceive himself that the executive has failed, he has not failed. If this government fails, we all fail, unfortunately.
Distinguished colleagues, I believe what we need to be focusing on, with all due respect, is, as I say, solutions. I'm sure if everybody has the opportunity, we can express different emotions on this. Let us look what is the way forward. What role can we play in addressing this issue? So I think in doing that, we've already got a motion and we have some prayers before it. Take those prayers and then other prayers can come into where solutions and that people have, we can contribute to those. So if we, let me go straight to the prayers as proposed by Senator Shaibu Isalau. Prayer 1, call on the Senate to send a high-power delegation to, in conjunction with the state government, resolve this conflict for harmonious existence. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. There's a prayer 2, direct NEMA to, as a matter of urgency, intervene by providing relief material to affected communities. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. As have it. Urge the federal government to deploy more security personnel, police, army, civil defense to the affected area. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. As have it. Prayer 4, urge the federal government to mount a comprehensive surveillance of the border of Adama and Taraba to proactively detect and deter further attacks. Those in favor of prayer 4 say aye. Those against say nay. As have it. Additional prayer, I think this is where we can contribute on how we can address this issue. Anybody with additional prayer? Yes, Deputy Senate President.
Earlier, I've alluded to our resolution yesterday on the Security Summit. So I would like, therefore, to suggest that I will suspend plenary by Wednesday and Thursday next week and hold the Security Summit under the leadership of the President of the Senate to enable us have the true picture of what is happening all over the country and be able to hear other people in terms of the solutions and come up with immediate steps to halt these killings going on all over the country.
Chief Whip.
If this is going to hold, yesterday we did give an assignment to the IG of police. It should be involved, in my opinion. I would say, yes, that's why I would say instead of doing it next week, we do it the other way, so that we also have time. Just a slight amendment before we vote on it.
James Senator, James Manager.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, James Manager, Delta South. I rise to second the very important motion prayer as moved by the Deputy Senate President that we do suspend plenary sitting on Wednesday and Thursday next week to allow the Senate President and other senators to host security summits in view of I beg to second. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, the prayer will read, call on the Senate to suspend plenary next week, Wednesday and Thursday, to hold a security summit to address these issues. Yes? Yeah, okay, those in favor of the additional prayer as moved and seconded, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Any other additional prayer? Yes, yes, Senator Chendu.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, I am Senator Andrew Chendu representing 3 Valley Senatorial District. Mr. President, from the contributions this morning, it is obvious that the security issue is widespread. It's beyond the decisions taken yesterday. And therefore, I would suggest that we modify the decision yesterday by saying that the National Summit should start with regional security summit. Zonal security summit. Because the problems in the can you hear me out, please? From the contributions here today, there are different dimensions to this security issue, and therefore the peculiarities of the zones will be taken into account by the national summit, security summit, which we agreed upon yesterday. It will enrich our complete, the outcome of what we want to achieve. Therefore, I want to move that, calling on the Senate to hold zonal security summit as an input to the national security summit. Thank you, Mr. President.
Can you second that? Okay, Senator Foster.
Wait now. He moved the motion. Did I not hear what he moved?
Tell us what you moved now. Tell us.
My dear Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I remain First Ogola. I represent Bayelsa West Senatorial District. Andrew Chendu, distinguished senator, my good brother and friend, has raised a very salient point. It will not just be useful in seconding this motion. I need to note that it will not just be useful to just talk at the center, Abuja. That is very difficult for people to assess. It is better we carry a day's zonal summit to the zones. Let the people there who feel the impact of this terrorism.
You are coming to second, not to make it. Just get up and second. No, it doesn't work like that. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the National Road Funds Establishment Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Road Fund Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, HB 49 and 163, first reading.
National Road Fund Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, HB 49 163, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Olorimi Tinubu on the Institute of Environmental Practitioners of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Institute of Environmental Practitioners of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2018, SB 559, first reading.
Institute of Environmental Practitioners of Nigeria Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 559, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill
standing in the name of Senator Hope Uzodinma on the Electronic Deeds Registration System Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Electronic Deeds Registration System Bill 2018, SB 595, first reading.
Electronic Deeds Registration System Bill 2018, SB 595, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of the Conference Committee report on the Environmental Managers Registration Council of Nigeria, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018. Mr. President, we wish to invite Senator Emmanuel Poka, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Emmanuel Poka, Bayelsa Central.
Mr. President, dear colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do receive the conference report on the Environmental Managers Registration Council of Nigeria, etc. Bill 2018 SB 88. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Gbenga Shafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to support the motion moved by Senator Polka. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the Conference Committee report on the Environmental Managers Registration Council of Nigeria, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018 SB 88. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Polka, please come and lay the report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion standing in the name of Senator Philip Aduda and Senator Dino Melai on the implementation of the Federal Capital Territory Statutory Appropriation Act 2017 and for other related matters pursuant to Section 122 and 299 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Mr. President, we wish to invite Senator Philip Aduda to move the motion.
Senator Philip Aduda.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, you may wish to recall that this morning the Special Senior Advisor to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senate, Senator Itainan, approached us this morning and said that they were bringing up a bill in respect to this motion for the implementation of the FCT 2014 Appropriation Act. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, and he said it will be brought to you today for forward transmission to the Senate. So we'll await the bill that will be brought from the presidency for forward transmission to the Senate before anything is done. Based on this, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I wish to stand down this motion while we await the Senior Special Advisor to the President to bring the motion on the implementation of the FCT 2017 Statutory Appropriation Act.
All right, thank you. Take note of that. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Downstream Petroleum on the investigation of lingering premium motor spirit fuel crisis across the country. Mr. President, may we invite Senator Kabir Marfa to move the motion for the Senate to consider the report of the committee.
Senator Marfa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My very distinguished colleagues, Senator Kabiru Garba Marafasio and representatives of our Central arise to move that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria do receive the report, the interim report of the Committee on Downstream on the lingering fuel crisis in the country. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Ataidoku.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues. My name is Senator Atai Aidoku Ali. I represent Kogi East. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion that this Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Downstream Petroleum on the investigation of the lingering premium motor spirit fuel crisis across the country. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Downstream Petroleum on the investigation of the lingering premium motor spirit fuel crisis across the country. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Marifa, come and lay the report. Lay it, then you will consider it. Senator Marifa. Senator Marifa.
Thank you, Mr. President, my very distinguished colleague. Again, Senator Kabiru Garba Marafa, representing Deferred Central. Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, I have the honor and the privilege to present to you today the interim report of the Senate Committee on Downstream Petroleum Sector on investigation of premium motor spirit, otherwise known as PMS, crisis rocking the country at the moment. Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, I will start with the introduction. In December 2017, the country started experiencing severe fuel crisis. As a result, most filling stations across the country were either dry or selling at exorbitant prices of between 200 naira to 400 naira as against the government-approved price of 145 naira per liter. This brought about untold hardship to Nigerians, especially our brothers and sisters traveling to unite with their loved ones during to celebrate the Christmas and the New Year in their respective constituencies. The leadership of the Senate, under His Excellency, the Senate President, Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki, prompted by this worrisome situation, rose up to the occasion by mandating its Committee on Downstream Petroleum Sector to immediately cut short their Christmas and New Year recess to investigate the crisis and report back with far-reaching recommendations to ameliorate and stem the crisis. Pursuant to this directive, the leadership of the committee reached out to its members to carry out oversight on supply and distribution of fuel products in their various constituencies, as well as resume immediately to report their findings to the committee for further action. However, the committee had, before the break, invited critical stakeholders of the downstream petroleum sector to brief it on the then looming crisis. The committee also toured some filling stations around Abuja and its environs to ascertain the level of PMS supply and distribution. Terms of reference. The committee adopted the following terms of reference: establish and identify the immediate and remote causes of the fuel crisis. Examine and investigate the current scheme for importing fuel products into the country, the direct sell, direct purchase, otherwise known as DSDP program. Determine short and long-term possible solutions to forestall future occurrence of fuel scarcity in Nigeria. Methodology. On the directive of His Excellency the Senate President, the committee adopted the following methodology: publicity / invitation of stakeholders, directed members to carry out on the spot assessment of the situation in their respective constituencies, collect situation report in other parts of the country from members and embark on the spot assessment within the FCT, call for memoranda from the general public, and lastly, held a live interactive public hearing that lasted more than 5.5 hours. Mr. President, I will skip the interactive session because it is already contained in the document before my respected colleagues. I will go to item number 7, subsidy. Mr. President, my well-respected colleagues, during the public hearing, the committee did not take questions on subsidy because of 2 reasons. Number 1, it was very clear from statements credited to major stakeholders that the lending cost of PMS is now 171 naira. This is even before the investigative hearing that the country is back to subsidy regime. This was further buttressed by various speakers at the hearing. Furthermore, there is already a Senate referral directing the committee to conduct a holistic investigation into the subsidy issues. I am glad to announce that the Senate President, His Excellency Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki, has already released funds and accepted to declare the investigation open on Thursday, 25th January 2018. 2, in recognition of the above fact, Mr. President, the committee therefore thought it wiser to look at volumes as a major cause of the crisis instead of subsidy, whose presence has already been established. Mr. President, let me further explain here that the committee looked at the issue of volumes, which has always been a very critical issue in the determination of subsidy in Nigeria. And in considering the volumes, the following facts emerge. 1, NNPC said it is importing 30 cargoes of 30 metric tons minimum of PMS monthly through the DSDPC. This means NNPC is importing 30, that is the number of cargoes, times 30,000 metric tons, that is the volume of each cargo, times 1,341, the conversion factor from metric tons to liters. This gives us a total of 1,206,900,000 liters of PMS monthly. Mr. President, while the session was on, we asked NNPC on what is the average consumption of PMS in Nigeria. And we were told that in ordinary months of January to September, Nigeria consumes about 27 to 30 million liters per day, and we consume between 30 to to 40 million liters of PMS daily in the 4 months of the Ember month. That is September, October, November, and December. From the figures, NNPC's monthly supply is supposed to last the country for about 35 days at 35 million liters. So we now looked at it and say, let us take an average consumption of about 35 billion liters daily to be the consumption Nigeria requires to weight all our filling stations across the country. Now, the marketers, on the other hand, complained of being shut out of the importation, apparently by several factors that we are going to see in the subsequent portion of this report. But however, the committee found out that between June 2016 to August 2017, marketers in Nigeria collectively collected a sum of over $3 billion at CBN rate to import PMS and AGO. Now, when we computed the amount collected by marketers from January 2017 to August 2017, it came to $1,669,180,182 at CBN rate of 305 naira to a dollar. This means when this amount is converted to naira and divided by 133 as the official government price, marketers are supposed to bring into the country 3.8 billion liters of petroleum products. On the other hand, Mr. President, if we take even the 145 naira ceiling, the marketers at this price are supposed to bring into the country a total sum of 3.5 billion liters. This, when computed, either way, if we take at 133 naira per liter, they were supposed to bring 109 days supply of PMS into this country at the rate of 35 million liters per day. And if we are taking the 145 naira as the minimum, maximum ceiling, they will still have to bring 100 days supply at 35 million liters per day. Mr. President, I'm taking my time to make this explanation because this issue of volume has always been the problem associated with PMS supply in the country. And as such, we need to look at it. This is not the first time. We have looked at the previous years under which this referent was given. And we saw in 2006, while we are all crying about subsidy, nobody looked at the volumes imported into this country. And I think it is very important to look at it because that should form the basis upon which we would look at the subsidy itself and even say whether there is subsidy in Nigeria or there is not supposed to be given subsidy in Nigeria. Mr. President, in the year 2006, Nigeria imported a total sum of about 10.5 billion liters or 26. We are consuming 26 million liters of PMS daily. In 2007, it rose to 27.4 million liters per day. In 2008, it came to 31.56 million liters daily. In 2009, it came to 33.4 million liters daily. In 2010, it rose to 43 million liters daily. And in 2011, it rose to an all-time high of about 65 million liters daily. In 2012, it dropped to about 47 million liters. In 2013, it was 52 or 53 million liters daily. And in 2014, it rose again to 53 million liters daily. And in 2015, 52.1 million liters daily. I give this brief history to show that the amounts paid between 2006 and 2016 of the sum of almost 10 trillion naira in subsidy to both NNPC and the marketers is truly a bogus amount, because Nigeria cannot be said to be consuming this quantity of fuel. Mr. President, coming back to the report, now by this computation, NNPC is bringing 35 days supply. So there is an excess or surplus of 5 days, which in a year will give an excess or surplus of a total of 60 days. Marketers collected monies and were supposed to bring in 100 supply and 35 million liters a day. When all this is put together, we are supposed to have a surplus of supply of 169 days at 35 million liters daily. My very distinguished colleagues, I am saying this to show that it is either NNPC is economical with the truth, or the marketers are economical with the truth. But truth of the matter, Nigeria is not supposed to be in fuel crisis, looking at these numbers. Because if we are taking 35 million liters every day with an excess of 169 days, now even if we are going to triple supply to the country in the ember month of just 4 months, then we can still comfortably get between 70 to almost 100,000 million liters daily. But the situation is not so. So for these reasons, we look at the volumes, and because I said the report is interim, we are continuing to look at who among the two entities is saying the truth and who is not saying the truth. Observation. The committee, during the investigation, observed that the scarcity of PMS across the country arose primarily because of the following reasons. Number one, it was established beyond reasonable doubt that there was a supply gap caused by a refusal of some DSDP control, that is direct sell, direct purchase contractors to take October crude oil cargoes, because of the fear of incurring huge losses occasioned by the rise in the price of PMS in the international spot market, which is always the case during winter months. Two, the fact that NNPC refused to listen to genuine complaints made by the marketers during the signing of the DSDP contract. My distinguished colleagues, I think it is pertinent to elaborate here that when the contracts were being awarded by NNPC, marketers demanded that they be given +6. This +6 and minus is in the international market. PMS is sold at a particular price on a particular day in the spot market. However, there are discounts that are given in some times, like January, February, March, April, up to some months. There is always enough supply in the market, so they give discount, and it is always referred to as minus. And in the winter months, because Europeans and Americans reconfigure their refineries to produce more heating oil because of the menace of coal, they produce less PMS. So there is always less supply of PMS in the international market. So in this ember month, usually the prices of PMS rises. Then added to this fact to this problem is the fact that there was increase in the price of crude oil, which directly affects the prices of PMS. So when they were signing this contract, they requested NNPC to give them at +6 to be able to supply throughout the year. But NNPC, in its wisdom, gave them between -10 to +3. And this is what caused the problem. So at the tail end of the year, some of the contractors felt they cannot supply at the +3 that they are given. Number 3, withdrawal of marketers from importation because of the rise in the international price of PMS, occasioned by the rise in the price of crude oil and the effect of winter, like I explained. Number 4, the claims by the oil marketers of non-payment of subsidy arrears by the government to the tune of 800 billion naira incapacitated their operation through the death of the operational capital. Let me state here too, Mr. President, that the marketers were fully paid what they owe as subsidy. What they are claiming now is arrears in interest on the capital they borrowed and the amounts that accrued due to forex differential when the naira was devalued. So the committee is going to look at the essence of this 800 billion naira with a view to establishing whether the marketers really merited these amounts or not. Then number 5 is the rumors of an impending corn price increase by government in December or in first week of January that went viral on social media. Massive smuggling across our borders. NNPC claimed that about 4,600 trucks were smuggled out of this country during the crisis. Number 7, there is the lack of harmonious working relationship between the ministry headed by the Honorable Minister of State and the NNPC headed by the GMB. This was evidenced even in their presentation. While the minister attributed the crisis to supply gap, the GMB was quick to deny any any gap in supply. Number 8, attitude of some bad marketers and some Nigerians who saw the crisis as an opportunity to make more money. This was evident in most parts of the country where the product sells between 200, 400 naira, even when it was clear that they got the product at the approved government price. The assertion that marketers buy the product at higher prices, because some marketers always allude to the fact that they buy the product at exorbitant prices. But this could not be substantiated because none of the marketers could produce evidence of having purchased at higher prices. Number 9 is the abysmal performance of our nation's refineries, despite huge investment in their repairs. Number 10, the issue of sabotage, though could not be established, but could still could not be ruled out completely, especially when some newspapers reported large deposits of hoarded petroleum products discovered by security personnel across the country. Number 11 is the trucking issue. Trucking is still the only means of transporting petroleum products across the country, and because of the nature of our roads and other problems in our sister states, trucks leaving Lagos take between 3 to 10 days to reach some parts of Nigeria. So this attributed to the shortages. Number 12 is dilapidated pipelines and pumping stations, leaving the inland depots almost all the time dry. My distinguished colleagues, the next item is recommendations. These recommendations, like I said, the report is interim. So the recommendations are the recommendations provided by different stakeholders during the interactive session, and is captured by the committee before the committee sit down to x-ray them and come out with the recommendations which this Senate will deliberate and communicate to the appropriate quarters at the appropriate time. So these are some of the recommendations, and after finish reading this report, we will listen to more of these recommendations from our colleagues, which will help us in carrying out our responsibility. The committee, having extensively deliberated on the issue of scarcity and the way forward, recommends as follows. 1, as part of short-term measure, federal government should consider granting special foreign exchange concession to oil marketers to enable them commence importation of fuel and sell at the approved 145 per liter. This is one of the points canvassed by some of the stakeholders, but it is fraught with a lot of problems, which I'm sure my distinguished colleagues will look at and do justice to it accordingly. Number two, federal government should consider giving waiver on payment of Nigerian Port Authority, NPA, NIMASA, and the Customs Service, and the other charges to bring the landing cost lower. This is so because it is established beyond reasonable doubt that the landing cost of PMS today is 171 naira, and the government has fixed it at 145 naira per liter. Therefore, for us to move forward, we have to find a way of bringing the landing cost down. So as I'm speaking today, NIMASA, NPA, and the custom charge marketers or NNPC that imports this product in dollar rates. So the committee feels that if a waiver is given for these charges, because it is still government subsidizing and government collecting this revenue, the prices would be able to come down so that we can still continue the 145 naira regime. Then number three, partial deregulation by the federal government to allow marketers, that is marketers, we are going to operate two price regimes. Marketers selling at a different rate or the regulated rate, while NPC sells at the approved 145 naira. But again, there is a problem with this one, as there is a fear that NNPC will be selling again to the marketers who will sell at higher prices. But I'm sure during the discussions, again, our colleagues will throw more light into this that will guide the committee in its further deliberations. Number four, federal government to consider granting special tax holiday to oil marketers as a way of incentivizing their import. Marketers, some of the stakeholders said, pay taxes to government. So if these taxes could be, or if these marketers could be given tax holiday on these taxes, then the marketers would be able to import and sell at the approved price of 145 naira. The federal government, the fifth option is full deregulation. The federal government to completely deregulate the PMS market as did the AGO and kerosene. This has a lot of consequences, which I'm sure our colleagues will talk about when the floor is open for them for their contribution. Six, as a medium-term measure, all pipelines and networks, pipeline networks and pumping stations should be rehabilitated and made operational in order to transport large volumes of the product through pipelines to the hinterland depots especially. Now, as a long-term measure, the committee thought that accelerating the passage of the PIB bill should be given the front burner status so that this will allow a better service delivery and allow for more private sector participation in the industry. Number three, the federal government should focus on complete rehabilitation and the upgrade of all the existing refineries to international standard for optimal production, or consider a guided concession of the refineries to improve capacity and efficiency. Number three, under the long-term measures, federal government through MPA should dredge water channels at the ports to accommodate bigger cargoes. During the investigative hearing, we heard from various stakeholders that part of the problem they are facing is big ships carrying larger volumes cannot sell into our ports easily. As such, there are more expenses being incurred in the process of lightering the products from the mother vessels through the shallow waters into the depots on the seashore. So this, if done, would further reduce the cost of landing and other costs because of the associated charges. Federal government should allow for private participation in the development of viable product distribution. Distribution infrastructure. Here we are talking of the pipeline, the railway, rather than just depending on the trucking system that is not quite inefficient, and it takes a longer time for the trucks to traverse the length and breadth of Nigeria. Number three, the committee continues with its investigation on subsidy, and other agencies are invited even today, like MPA, NIMASA, and the PEP are invited to come and give reasons and the customs why they are charging marketers in dollars while PMS product is known to be sold in Naira across Nigeria. So we are continuing today to hear from them what percentage of their revenue these charges contribute, and we look at the possibility of advising government to give waiver on this charges, so that the prices could still be maintained at 145 Naira. I have earlier said that the Senate President has graciously approved funds for the subsidy investigation to go on, which we intend to commence next week, Thursday, by the special grace of God. And tomorrow we are seeing other agencies in continuation of this exercise. Mr. President, in conclusion, the committee wishes to thank the leadership of the Senate for giving it the opportunity to carry out this very important assignment, and believes that the adoption, well, there is no adoption because this is an interim report, and believes that discussing this issue extensively by our members, contributing to the committee, some recommendations that the committee will look into greater details will go a long way in solving the fuel crisis this country is facing today. Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to go through this interim report. Thank you.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues. My name is Senator Achai Aidoko Ali. I represent Kogi East. Mr. President, I will join all the speakers from yesterday to today in commending you for directing the committee on Downstream to rise to the occasion when the scarcity persists during the holiday period. I sincerely commend you, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. President. Mr. President, for me, this is the first time I will not be commending a committee of the Senate for doing a job. Mr. President, this report from this committee, to me, does not contain the issues, it does not address the problems that made you to cause this committee to sit. For instance, Mr. President, this report, the fundamental issue about this, the whole crisis, according to the marketers and according to NMPC, is the issue of subsidy. And this committee will come here and tell us that they are not discussing subsidy. They didn't mention anything about subsidy and causes of this scarcity. And we're here to consider recommendations of this committee. This committee, this Senate needs to know, because NMPC came out to say the importers said that they are not importing because the NMPC said the cost of landing is higher than the pump price. Therefore, NMPC alone, within that period, was importing fuel to this country. That means that NMPC, the issues of subsidy, NMPC is paying itself subsidy. NMPC is the one importing this product. NMPC is the one paying itself. Who regulates NMPC? And we're here and nobody is discussing that. A lot of money has been paid to NMPC. NMPC has paid for the price differential. We didn't see anything about it. And now we're saying that we are not talking subsidy in this report. What are we talking about? This looks like a report of NMPC. This is exactly what they want us to do. And Mr. President, look at even one recommendation here. This recommendation 5 said that we should deregulate. We want to put the Senate against Nigerians. The issue of deregulation is the most contentious issue in this country. If you say, okay, deregulate now, tomorrow they'll run to town and deregulate. And they will be buying fuel for 300 naira, and they say the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Nigeria has said that we should go and deregulate. We have deregulated. You have now put the whole problem on this National Assembly and this Senate. Mr. President, this report, I don't think that this report has met the minimum requirement that we need to look at this report. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Bairo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Let me begin by commending my good friend, chairman of the committee, and his members for the job done. Mr. President, just looking at these recommendations. Recommendation 1 is talking about subsidy. Recommendation number 1 is talking about subsidy. Because what they are saying here, the federal government should consider granting special foreign exchange concession to the oil marketers to enable them commence importation of oil and sale on approved 145. Mr. President, that is subsidy. And again, if you do that, what will happen to the foreign reserve? Are you not depleting the foreign reserve? Is it not better for us to come out and say, just remove the oil subsidy and let's sell the oil at market costs? That is better. Number 2, Mr. President, on the recommendation, the government should consider giving waiver the Nigerian port, waiver of payment of Nigerian port authorities. This is, Mr. President, the law does not allow that. Under which law are we going to do that? Number 3, partial deregulation by the federal government to allow oil marketers import oil. The queuing will continue because everybody will want to go and buy oil from the NNPC station. There will be pressure on them. So this recommendation, entirely, I have read out all these recommendations. The only recommendation that may stand, Mr. President, is the last recommendation. The federal government should completely deregulate premium motor spirit as the case of automatic gas oil. That is the only recommendation that will stand. Otherwise, this recommendation, as far as I am concerned, and based on what my colleague has said, is just like a report that is imported or is written by somebody not from the committee of this Senate. If it is a report of this Senate, they can bring about 5 different recommendations on one different issue. I mean, on one same issue. 5 different recommendations. So, Mr. President, may I call on the committee to go back and work again and bring a committee of its own, not a committee that was influenced by outsiders. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Stella Dua.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Stella Odua. I represent Anambra North. My dear colleagues, Mr. President, this is a very technical report, supposed to be very technical report. Mr. President, there has not been any single year that we don't have fuel scarcity. It's been a recurring, fuel scarcity has become a recurring decimal, which simply means that we have fundamental issues that we must resolve. It starts with the policies, the procedure, and the fact that NNPC really has not been able to put in place proper structure to address the non-occurrence of fuel scarcity. Mr. President, what I suggest is that we step aside this report and debate it at a later day. Mr. President, this will not stand the test of time. You want what tomorrow will say that what the Senate represented and what the Senate profile as solution will stand test of time. This is unfair report. Very, very unfair and extremely biased report. But having said that, I think we need to set it aside, we need to study it, and we need to come back at a later date to have and informed debate on this particular report. I so submit. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, my very respected colleagues, Dino Melai, Kogi West. Mr. President, this report, if adopted, will only continue to empower the corruption that is already ongoing in the oil sector in this country. Mr. President, I want to say without fear or favor that what we ought to be debating here is the corruption that is going on in the oil industry, in NNPC, and the reason why our oil industry has failed. But nothing of sort is being mentioned in this report. This report, rather, is energizing the corruption that is already ongoing. Mr. President, it is true that oil price has gone up. It is true that marketers may not be able to sell at 145. But Mr. President, it is abominable. It is not acceptable. It is demonstration of recklessness and irresponsibility for any government to spend government money without appropriation by the National Assembly. Mr. President, as we are here speaking, monies have been released by the federal government. Monies have been released by the Minister of Finance. Monies have been released by the Accountant General of Federation. That is not appropriated. Mr. President, what we promise this country is respect for the rule of law, is respect for the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which General Muhammadu Buhari, yourself and myself, we all swore to uphold. Mr. President, we cannot continue in sin and ask grace to abound. Mr. President, today we should be able to tell ourselves the truth. We as custodians and last born stop of the people, how can we sit in this chamber and hundreds of millions of dollars being released by government unappropriated for? Mr. President, then we are not fighting corruption. Then it is abuse of power. Then we are fueling corruption. Mr. President, I want to say that we must give, even before we go out and have a holy report, even before we go back and look at this document, this Senate must today come out with a strong resolution that government cannot, will not spend cover without appropriation by the Senate, no matter how important, how cogent, no matter the circumstance. The Constitution and the laws of the land did not give room for exigencies that will permit government to spend without appropriation. The law is the law. And the Constitution of this country that we all swore to uphold must be respected, irrespective of circumstances. So, Mr. President, I am particularly asking that we ask this committee to become born again, go back, sit down, do a holy exercise, and come up with resolutions. But we must, as a matter of urgent necessity and national importance, call federal government to order, call the ministers and the president to order by saying that all monies spent without appropriation must be refunded back to government coffers. Then they should approach the Senate for appropriation, then we will appropriate, and then they can spend. Luta continua, Victoria Asata. So I have a motion on the ground, Mr. President. It is a motion, and I move the motion does, that the Senate pass a resolution asking the federal government to refund all money spent
not appropriated, and approach the Senate and the National Assembly for appropriation where needed. We will look at it with our Christian and Islamic eyes, and where we deem necessary, we shall approve. Where we deem not necessary, we shall decline. Thank you.
Senator Marafa, let me allow you to speak before the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for giving me this opportunity. Let me reiterate. The problem is, while I was reading this report, some people were discussing some other national issues. I have suggested this is an interim report, Mr. President. It's an interim report. And the recommendations are as canvassed by the different stakeholders. That is why we bring them all in perspective. And I even said that we are going to hear from our colleagues, take these things back, digest them, then come to the floor with proper recommendations. That is from the committee. Then number 3, before the motion of Senator Dino. Mr. President, people are talking about subsidy. There are 2 issues about the subsidy. And we have already stated, we are in subsidy regime. It has been established even before the investigative hearing. It was established, the GMD said it, the minister said it, that the lending cost of PMS is 171. So what is the need of overplugging that issue? Now the committee now looked at another angle that has never been looked before. Excuse me, I have the floor, please. Mr. President, we were able to establish on page sorry, Mr. President. We were able to establish that through either NNPC or the marketers, we have said it, from what NNPC submitted and the marketers, the amounts they have collected in foreign exchange, there is an excess supply of about 5.9 billion liters. Let us multiply 5.9 billion liters by 145 naira. Then the whole subsidy we are talking about as of today is, if you take everything at 40 million liters per day, and at 171, Mr. President, the whole price of the PMS in the country will come to will come to 6.8 billion naira. Now, if you take the subsidy out, it will be 1.5 billion naira per day. That is 447 billion naira in subsidy. Now, what the committee has been able to get out is there is 5.9 billion liters misappropriated. That is about 1 trillion naira. So how can you be talking of 26 naira that is not in contention? No, everybody has believed. The minister said it, the GMD said it, everybody knows that we are back to subsidy. Now, what of the other angle? Are we consuming the amount of PMS that NNPC and other people are telling us that we are consuming? In 2011, I have given an example. Because we were paying subsidy, Mr. President, this nation said we are consuming 70 million liters every day for 365 days. And that is why we paid between 2006 to 2015, we paid a staggering 10 trillion naira in subsidy. The NNPC alone collected 5.1 trillion naira. That is why this Senate says it should be investigated. Then marketers collected 3.8 trillion naira. Mr. President, this subsidy is as a result of volumes that Nigerians didn't consume. But anytime we want to talk, we only talk about subsidy because we want to play to the gallery. Now, the subsidy is already there. Now, if somebody asks of who approved it, that is another question, and entirely another one. But to say that because we didn't talk about subsidy is hypocrisy. We have talked about subsidy, and we looked at subsidy from another angle, not the usual angle that people always looked at. Let us look at the volumes. It is the volumes that will tell Nigerians that yes, we are taking this or we are not taking that. So the motion can be taken, but I want my colleagues to know what the committee did. The committee is able to bring out issues that are more cogent this 5.9 trillion naira that we are alleging a surplus that we cannot see, and Nigerians are suffering, now is amounting to about 1 trillion naira, while the whole subsidy is a lot less than that. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Yayi.
Mr. President, distinguished colleague, Adiola Solomon Olamilekon, representing Lagos West Senatorial District. Mr. President, I came into this chamber today to discuss the issue of fuel scarcity and subsidy. I was careful and listened to my brother while he was presenting his report. First and foremost, I was taken aback. I was thinking we are coming in form of a motion to discuss this issue today. I never knew that it was a report that is being generated by the Senate Committee on Downstream that called all the relevant stakeholders while we are on research when there were issues of scarcity. But Mr. President, when I found out that there's a report already, it's an interim report. But the issue here is this. This report only focuses on scarcity queues on the road. But there are other germane issues that I believe that a special investigative hearing must be carried out for us to get to the root of this matter. Mr. President, let me assist this Senate by starting with that the existing report that was given by the PricewaterhouseCoopers on the issues that was raised by the Senate President on the initial fuel subsidy. The then Honorable Minister of Finance engaged the services of the PricewaterhouseCoopers, and there was a report. I am happy to announce to my colleagues that all that was contained in that report and issues affecting the issue of subsidy still remain the same. Nothing has changed. And I want us to please, and I'm ready to get the copy of the report and lay it before the Senate. Nothing has changed. It is the same routine that has been going on. Exactly the same fraud that has happened over the years has remained. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm coming, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I want to say this. That is an affront for NNPC not to submit their budget before the National Assembly. It's an affront. And I don't know where they derive their powers from. Because I can tell you, sir, within 4 years, this is one agency of the government that has overshoot its expenditure to the tune of 3 trillion naira. It is not a report of the National Assembly. This is the report of the National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. It's their copy of their report. They have shoot the expenditure, and this is not budgeted figure. It's an actual figure to the tune of 3 trillion naira within 4 years. Who gave the approval? And this same agency is still there living larger than life. Now, I'm coming. And now, they are now saying the subsidy regime. And if anybody will come here, that what are we talking about subsidy? Then, what we are saying is that, why are we asking them, why are we asking for our powers? Because the subsidy they are doing is an illegal subsidy. Mr. President, I flew Air Peace yesterday from Lagos to Abuja. The man sitting beside me told me that for all the independent marketers to be paid, they have to sacrifice the minimum of 3 billion naira. To who? To who? Just yesterday, it was just an issue of fuel scarcity. So if this is what is going on, and anybody will come here, what are we talking about subsidy? Then it calls for a lot of questions on not only the integrity of the Senate, but even what we are doing here. Mr. President, there is fraud in NNPC. There is fraud in Ministry of Finance. There is fraud in Office of Accountant General that needs to be investigated. It has been established because you and I are not aware of the issue of subsidy until it was raised in this day newspaper. That we now notice that there are various figures. Some say it is 41 naira, some say it is 26 naira. The issue even here, who approved the subsidy? Who gave the go-ahead? That shows that there are people that are spending outside the act
that was passed by the National Assembly. And they are doing it with impunity, with nobody regard to anybody. So something has to be done. And I believe it is not going to, because we even need to know how much has been spent on this subsidy. So that is why I'm calling for a full-blown investigative hearing on this particular matter. The issue of scarcity will persist, and I don't want to know if fuel is still at 200 or 145 or so. But the issue is they are siphoning Nigerian money. And I'm saying it again. I will bring a copy of that report and let us compare notes if anything has changed between the report due by the PricewaterhouseCoopers, and because if you notice, that report was delayed for long. They refused to release the report because it's damaging information that is contained in that report. And I'm assuring you that that same thing still continue, still persist. Nobody has stopped anything. And that is why you could see that NNPC, independent marketer, everybody are speaking different language, even including Minister of Finance. So I am calling on the Senate to carry out a full-blown investigative action. And on the motion moved by Senator Dino, that no fund, because that is our power. The power of the port belongs to the National Assembly. That is the only power aside our making of laws and things that we hold on to, and nobody can take it from us through the back door. If you want to spend any money, in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there is need for you to make a cost to the National Assembly. And if any such fund has been expected, whosoever has been involved in such expenditure must be dealt with seriously in accordance with the Constitution. So I hereby second the motion by Senator Dino that no fund, henceforth going forward, must leave the coffers of the government without the approval of the National Assembly. Thank you, Mr. President.
I wanted to say something.
Well, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I think there is a motion on ground which has already been seconded. But my own point is that I would have loved the situation because of the reality of what we know for this Senate for us to remain statesmen. I think what you did was highly commendable when you insisted that the Committee on Downstream should step into the issue immediately even when we are on recess because of the love that we have for our people and because of the fact that we represent the interests of the Nigerian people and Nigerians were suffering. But thank God everybody has seen through that this report does not represent the integrity of this Senate. The report we have before us, whether it's interim or otherwise, I will advise that maybe the chairman will later withdraw the report because the issues were not well addressed. The issues that made you to call them out of recess were not addressed in this report. So I just want to say that thank God there is a motion on ground now, but one thing we must agree is that this Senate must stop the impunity that goes on in the country, and particularly in most of these government agencies. They have no regards to you. They have no regard to anybody. And we have said here that the president has high integrity. It means well for the country. But if the lieutenants around the president are not performing, then the chaos will continue. The crisis, even in the security sector, is very clear that something needs to be done. We need to think. And then here we have a humongous NNPC fraud that has not abated even from 1999, even in the days under the PDP. If we were not able to change it, the change government should have been able to change it. But what is going on, even from the PricewaterhouseCoopers report, shows that clearly from 1999 up to date, nothing has changed. NNPC is still the Lord. He spends money the way he likes. The minister will come before us here and tell us that there is no subsidy. The issue, I'm happy to announce to the Senate and the National Assembly that the issue of subsidy has been brought to an end. Then somebody will now say, I'm spending trillions of naira on subsidy. And NNPC is now competing with marketers. As the marketers are bringing fuel in, the NNPC is also bringing fuel. And they are bringing their fuel at their own subsidized rate. And probably they are working with CBN to even get the dollar at a lower rate than the marketer. And how do you want this situation to try? So this report for me is something I think, I don't know how Dino would describe it, whether it is Bulguru. But as far as I'm concerned, I believe that we must be statesmen. We must look at it from a bipartisan perspective and across party line. And the intention you had, which represents our intention, is that the sufferings of Nigerians should be brought to an end. And I think it's high time we looked at the NNPC and we find out whether they are operating a different constitution from the one we have. Because that constitution ensures provision that before you can expend money that that money must have been authorized by the National Assembly. And all these expenditures we are talking about, include the trillions of naira going on subsidy. Even look at somebody alleging that even for the marketers to get this illegal subsidy that they are getting now, they have to do away with 3 billion naira. Is this not a shame? I'm not chairman, don't talk. You cannot confirm something you did not put in your report. So please, Mr. President, the chairman will withdraw his report, then we'll go ahead with Dino's motion. And that is my submission. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, okay, let me leader want to contribute.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I share the sentiments of my colleagues that no single kobo should be spent by government without appropriation. This is a constitutional provision and it's the power of the legislature. I therefore support the idea of investigating what has happened. But I also want to make this point, Mr. President, that when our committees are asked to work, I would suggest that we don't denigrate such reports, because our colleagues have put in efforts. It was on your directive that they had to leave from their various senatorial districts to come back to reconvene and work on behalf of the Senate. I think the report should be withdrawn, and our committee should look at those observations made. That does not stop the investigation on what has been spent without appropriation. I believe that our committee needs to be commended for responding to the directive. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yes, you want to say something?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to join leader in also commending our committee. They made sacrifice, they did a lot of work. We have issues with the recommendations. And so I believe that in going back, they should be guided, and I believe they have benefited from the contributions. I just want to add, in that respect, that in reconsidering the issue of fuel scarcity, how to resolve it, they need also to look at the issue of gas-powered vehicles, because we have enough gas that doesn't need any subsidy. So if government-owned vehicles have been made to use the gas, and public transportation as well, as done in most countries, we'll be able to reduce the pressure on PMS, and then the issue of subsidy will also be addressed. So let them think about possibility of a policy that can channel the use of gas appropriately, because we have more than enough gas that doesn't require any subsidy. Then I've also looked at the 2017 budget and 2018. I can't find any provision for subsidy. So, and it is well known to all of us that we cannot spend what is not appropriated for. So if there's any expenditure going on in terms of subsidy, it is going to be extra budgetary, and that's where the problem comes in. Now, because it's an accounting issue, so regarding investigation of the subsidy, I think that we need to involve our public accounts as to be part of this investigation, so that let us know where these monies are coming from in terms of the subsidy, and how much has been spent there. And if there's need for subsidy, then let us know how much money that's needed, now, especially now that we're discussing 2018 budget. So I support the motion, but what I'm adding therefore is that our committee on public accounts should also be involved.
I mean, are we contributing suggestions? So that, yes, Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, my President and distinguished colleagues. My suggestion has to do with the fact that in a world where the price of production is not static, fact is fundamentally wrong economics to expect a fixed price. I don't think the debate has been held properly, not only in the Senate, but in the larger polity, even in the social media, as to the desirability or not of subsidy. Even in the most advanced countries, even in the USA, the archetypical capitalist economy. The truth is there are aspects of the economy that are subsidized. Milk sale in the USA is heavily subsidized. Housing in the USA is heavily subsidized. So we are not talking about whether or not we subsidize. But I think the quarrel that we have is the uncertainty of the arithmetic and mathematics that are involved in this so-called subsidy in Nigeria. The last time that we fixed this price at 145, if we remind ourselves there was a crisis, then we have to respond to it. We increased the price and we fixed a benchmark that reflected the price of crude at the time. Since that time, the price has gone up. Honestly, in my opinion, the only solution is to say, given the fact that we don't love to pay tax in this economy, if we must subsidize anything at all, let's subsidize education for our children. Let's stop subsidy for fuel. Once we do that, what I call on January 7 in my interview on Channel, the big mafia of NNPC will come to the end. As it is right now, when we destroyed the monopoly of P&T and we destroy the monopoly of Nitel, what we have in Glo, in MTN, in Airtel, and all the other networks, for whatever may be their faults, is superior to what we had under P&T. What we have today under Airpeace, Arik, Dana, for whatever may be wrong with those airlines, is superior today than what we had under Nigerian Airways. I guarantee this republic that when we have the courage to dismantle NNPC and say rest in peace, and we make the market available to everybody, including anybody with stolen money, to go and start modular refineries, we will see that there will be enough petrol manufactured by Nigerian labor, sold in Naira, and we shall sell petrol to neighboring countries. Right now, spending our limited money and hard currency to import petrol when Nigeria is the 8th or maybe 6th largest exporter of crude oil is a shame to all of us. Let's kill the NNPC.
Senator Binta.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, and I think I just want to align myself with what my two other colleagues have mentioned on motions that ought to be brought, before us. But sir, there are legislations that were made in this National Assembly. In the act of NNPC, and not only NNPC, CBN, FRS, and Chetford, we passed a legislation giving them the power not to bring their budgetary provision, requirement to the National Assembly. So even if we are going to work, not only NNPC, sir, Section 80 of the Constitution gave us that every funds that will be used must go into the consolidated revenue account. But if we are not using NNPC alone without taking into consideration of CBN, FRS, and even Chetford, they only gave the power for the president to have given, to give for the approval for them to work on the budget. So it is in abeyance with the Section 80 of the Constitution. So sir, I think it will be pertinent if all the relevant agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of bringing budgetary approval or allocation to the National Assembly, we should do that. But not only NNPC, because by the act of NNPC, you gave them the power. Yes, it is. That is what I'm saying now. So now we need to revisit most of this act so that we can now reverse it, so that it can be in line with Section 80 of the Constitution. Third fund does not bring his budgetary allocations to any, National Assembly. Because CBN does not bring its own allocation to the, the budgetary allocation to. So we must look at all other things.
Distinguished colleagues, let me try and guide the discussions. Let me also join others to commend the committee for their prompt action at that particular time and the sacrifices they all made. And I think in also the sacrifice, or they're trying to ensure that they meet our expectations, making sure a report was ready at the point of assumption. As you all know, or some might not know, I think that in the seventh Senate, this is a topic that I spent a lot of time with. I think it was even my bringing I brought this topic to the national discourse. So it's something that I think I can speak on. I think there are two issues here we need to separate, or three issues. Even as we speak now, there's still queues. As we speak now. So I think that the issue of scarcity is one problem, which I believe that the committee needs to go back to look into that as regards clearly how did they happen, which you touched on it, but I think you just touched on it. Can it be prevented, and what is the way forward so that Nigerians can be reassured that that will not reoccur? That's problem number one. Problem number two is the point which the chairman was trying to emphasize, and I think we all, because of the issue of subsidy, we missed the point he was trying to emphasize. I think he was trying to say that it's not that subsidy is not important, but there's a bigger fraud going on, which was what happened when I raised the motion, where under the statistics given, the amount of PMS that is coming to this country cannot be consumed by this country. So some people are using that volume to carry out the greatest massive fraud ever. And at the end of the day, the country is paying for it. Because it's not transparent, it's only being done by one person. And government agency cannot be as efficient as marketers. So that area, I believe, is the second area that the committee needs to address. Now that is different from the principle of incurring expenditure without approval. So my own recommendation would be that we separate the two issues. The issue of the subsidy and how that happened, what was it about, is a separate issue, which can go to, for example, public accounts to look at. The issue, two issues that are very important, is the issue of the scarcity as of today and the fraud of the volumes. And that is really where the issue is, because for as long as we are consuming 27 million liters a day, and you are bringing 40 million liters a day, it's criminal. So if we agree, as we said, that let the committee go back and address these two main issues and give us a comprehensive report to address the way forward, while we now address the issue questions raised in the motion by Dino, and said the Public Accounts Committee to look into those issues. If you agree, I'll put the questions on these two issues. So, distinguished colleagues, the motion before us is that we tell our committee Downstream to go back and review their report with emphasis on the scarcity today, as is happening today, and what can be done to restore normalcy in that area, what brought us to where we are, and what actions need to be taken. Secondly, is the issue of volume, to investigate this issue of volume and find out exactly what is going on. Those in favor that Downstream Committee go ahead and do, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And then the motion raised by Senator Dino, which was seconded, I'll put that question again. I think we all have it. Those in favor of that motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And then the motion that, as recommended by DSP, the public accounts should look into this issue that result in the issue. Pardon? Huh? No, I've separated the two issues. There are three issues now. Two issues goes to Downstream, and this singular issue goes to public accounts. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate. Have I? You? Yes, you guide my own mood too by.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that we step down the consideration of the third order of the day, which is the presentation and consideration of the Conference Committee report on the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Agency Establishment, ETC Bill 2018. Mr. President, we still have issues to solve with the House of Representatives. So I move that we stand down that consideration of that report.
You mean items?
No. Let's stand down first.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we do stand down that item to another legislative day to allow us further consultation with our colleagues from the Green Chamber say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that we stand down the consideration of all other items on the order paper till another legislative day for our committees to attend to the budget and other committee activities.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we stand down the other items on the order paper to another legislative date to enable the committees to continue with the budget presentations.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I hereby move the Senate to adjourn till tomorrow, Thursday, the 18th of January 2018, at 10 a.m. prompt. I so move.
President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion for adjournment moved by the leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate hereby adjourn to Thursday, 18 January 2018, 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senate accordingly adjourned to Thursday, 18 January 2018, 10 a.m. prompt.